Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll create a beautiful and vibrant painting that's perfect for decorating your wall or gifting to someone special. Here is the list of materials you will need. A sponge, ideally use one with round edges to avoid harsh line. Painter's tape, paints. I'm working with shades of blue and orange, but feel free to choose complementary colors of your choice. Brushes, a flat brush and a round brush. Pencil and eraser for sketching. The first step is to sketch out our design. I like to create overlapping shapes because they add depth and make the composition more visually interesting. Take your time with this part. It's the foundation of your painting. Lightly draw the shapes with the pencil and don't worry if you make a mistake. That's what the eraser's for. Here you can see the composition layout. If you feel like you want to change something up, feel free to do so. Once our sketch is ready, we'll move on to painting the first layer. For this piece, I'm working with complementary colors, blue as the main color and orange as the accent. Complementary colors sit opposite each other on the color wheel, which means they create vibrant contrasts when used together. For example, blue and orange are perfect for this painting because they balance each other beautifully. If you'd like to try a different pair, you could use red and green or yellow and purple. You can even mix shades within the same pair to create something entirely unique. The key is to choose colors that excites you. Great! Once the first layer is completely dry, we'll use painter's tape to outline the edges of our shapes. This prevents smudging and helps keep our lines sharp and clean. Now for the fun part, texture. I'm mixing a slightly darker shade of blue by adding a small amount of black to my base color. Then I lightly dab the sponge into the paint and press it gently across the shape. This creates a soft texture effect that's both subtle and dynamic. Next, I mix a lighter shade of blue by adding white to the base color. Using the same dabbing motion with the sponge, I layer this lighter shade over the darker one. This technique adds dimension and makes the painting feel more alive. Take a moment to appreciate how the colors and textures are starting to interact. It's always exciting to see the piece come to life at this stage. Moving on. To make the painting more dimensional, I like to add sheer layer of white paint. This step is optional, but it can really enhance the overall look. I dampen the sponge slightly and use just a tiny amount of paint to create soft highlights. If you're nervous about this step or just already happy with how your painting looks, feel free to skip it. Remember, this is your artwork and you should trust your instincts. Next, we'll move on to the second shape. Start by applying a layer of your chosen blue shade. Once it's dry, tape around the edges just like we did earlier. For this layer, I'm using a lighter base color and creating texture with the sponge. This time I'm adding sweeping motions to the dabbing technique. The combination of these motions create more fluid, overlapping effect. To add even more depth, I mix a slightly darker shade and layer it over the lighter color. Then I go back to the lighter shade one last time, building up layers that feel rich and multidimensional. Great. Now it's the time to add darker shapes. For these, I'm switching from the sponge to round brush. The round brush is great for this step because it holds a lot of moisture, making it easier to apply smooth, dense layers. If you're worried about keeping the edge clean, feel free to use painter's tape again. Personally, I find it easier to work freehand with the brush for this part. Take your time and let the paint dry completely before moving on. To give the painting a polished professional look, I like to clean up the white areas. If your whites aren't bright enough, they can make the painting feel unfinished or dull. This step might seem small, but it makes a big difference in the final result. Now the final touch. We will add orange accent. I'm using thicker lines for this step instead of liner brush because I want the orange to stand out and create a bold contrast against the blue. Thicker lines feel more deliberate and help balance the composition. And don't worry about getting the lines perfect. This step is all about adding energy and movement to the piece. Just follow along with me and let the brush follow naturally. Remember, imperfections can add charm and make your painting uniquely yours. And we are done! Our humble yet harmonious piece is complete. I hope you enjoyed this process, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Until then, happy painting!